understand it can do a lot of damage, you do wonder if it's always going to be the Aatrox minigame of first kill goes the way of the Aatrox, hard to lose.
That's exactly right. The thing I really like as well is the fact that you create a lot of really gankable lanes with the Rise there, Rune Prison into Cocoon is a hell of a lot of CC that's pretty difficult to avoid, and then a lot of extra damage provided for that lane as well. So Griffin are going to have to play around this early game effectively. However, once they get to the mid to late game, the heroic entrance plus crescendo is just so much CC in a small area. Sandbox are going to have to play very intelligently as the team fights go on. And if Viper survives for longer than he did in game number 1, it could be very, very scary. However, Sandbox did it in game 1. See whether they can do it in game number 3.
Where are the junglers going? We didn't see the bot side plays in game number 2 through the Xin like we thought with Sandbox. They're on Elise now. Elise versus Lee could be a fun-packed early game full of action.
Well, since the dawn of time, I mean, since these champions were introduced into League of Legends, it's always been a fun matchup. Lee versus Elise, level 3 is so much fun. Let's get into it. Sandbox gaining fans slowly and steadily throughout their inception into the LCK to now.
10 p.m. local time. We see that Viper, we talked about how Summoner Aerie was being thrown in to the realm of the Sona builds. We're seeing a different choice. Now let's talk about how game 1 went the way of Sandbox, and specifically to what Sandbox did. They had Summit just find inventive ways to stop Sona Taric from ever being a thing. Honestly, it was Sona somewhere and then Taric being collapsed on, or Sona being collapsed on and Taric having to ult disconnected. It was never the duo for easy team fights. They were definitely pulling some misfires, but it was also Summit Silas dropping into different spots to assassinate the Sona. If you look at the comp from Griffin, they actually don't have what we saw from the Sona Galio we really liked, where they had a lot of zone control with Cannon Ultimate and Galio and other AoE controls.
They in fact had AoE CC on everyone.
In here, all we see is Galio alongside Tarzan and Chovy probably diving on Lee Sin and Akali. So actually, this is the sort of game where Sona might just be killed in transition and not be able to be the aura bot that usually makes her a guaranteed win champion. So I don't mind Viper dropping some of that early gold generation, going the way of the Unsealed Spellbook, and having flexible options like heal and cleanse and ghost to try to get himself out of bad predicaments.
The thing I very much like here on Sandbox's side is that they've navigated themselves into a position where they have lanes that are pretty good. You know, Rise versus Aatrox has been an ever-evolving matchup on the top side of the map. I'm not entirely sure where it sits at the moment, but can be pretty comfortable for the Rise. He's just going to try and scale.
I think it's very easy to make a meme joke about Rise right now, because it's very much like pop a thumbs up, Rise 9-11, great matchup for Rise, and then 9-12 is a different kettle of fish for some of these matchups.
Yeah, well, Summit just avoids every single ability coming out of Sword there.
You got movement speed, shield, and ranged harass, so Aatrox obviously hates his life. Can also turret dive. The newer version of Aatrox as well, so you can actually kill him with that first CC, like is present in most Rise matchups. So.
Glad you bring that up, because they also have an Elise Papa Smithy, and what does she do very well?
You know what?
She dives.
She follows up the first CC with a cocoon that can't miss, and then happy times ahead.
Yeah, and then if you're underneath, the turret has Repel to get herself out of any threat range. It's real scary. But whether they can actually navigate themselves into a position where they can utilize it is the question. Because Griffin, in the early games of all of these games, have actually been doing a decent job.
And when you see Rise Elise, you say, please counter-gank my lane, Tarzan. So that's why he's in top side, trying to find as much information as possible. He already had a ward. He was ready for the lane play. Scuttle could be contested here. Smite down on Elise.
Yeah. Or he is able to pick that one up. But Tarzan does throw some damage back. Dove, though, will have the inside track in the mid lane, as the push advantage was certainly there for the Jace. So no follow-up from Chovy. That is eventually going to go down. But 19 health was a low margin for that Riskella.
Honestly, could also make a beeline for the bot side Scuttle. As soon as Cocoon is available, he should be fancied in trades against Lee Sin. Yep, Tarzan will be dropping any access to Scuttles. He'll hit level 4. But definitely advantage over to Elise, who didn't even need to take Krug Camp for 4 and a bit.
Yeah, I just love this matchup. The Elise Lee Sin is so cool because it's not set in stone with how it's supposed to go, right? Often it's about the position you are on the map, the vision that you have, the control that you have, which is why we'd often like Tarzan on either side of the matchup, right? Because he's so good at controlling the jungle. However, OnFleek has really put himself into a position in the LCK where he has a target on his back for being one of the most proactive junglers that we have, even if it isn't necessarily as cerebral as what Tarzan offers.
And I think we always talk about matchup. This is like an invader's advantage or a proactive advantage, where if you're the one walking in, they face check you, well, that's a lot of burst damage you're taking, and that's usually what happens. So it means that both of them are beholden to playing aggressive, which is what we kind of want out of our League of Legends Atlas. So just a matchup that you can look at, smile, and enjoy, because it's been kind of evergreen through, what, 5 to 6 years of competitive play.
I think ever since Elise and Lee Sin were released, whichever one came first. I think they were actually relatively close
Lee Sin
together.
was first, I believe, and then Elise following.
Yeah.
I want to say Elise is Season 3.
Yeah. I also remember that no one really played Lee Sin for a very long time. Even though he was very strong, no one had figured him out. It was a different time of League of Legends. And so they probably came into meta at similar times, to be honest, despite the release dates being different.
Summit not able to get auto-attack harass, so no turret placed in the very much bot lane.
Yeah, meanwhile, bottom side, Ghost has to use the flash, but isn't going to be enough. Stander side comes in. Will Viper be able to catch up? The answer is no. He's got a Frost Fang, not much more, so no booties to help him move forward. Song of Celerity, a little bit higher cooldown at this level.
And no damage in the really early game, so unable to finish off a kill, but nice little harassment. Getting Summoner out of Ghost is not a fool's errand. It's something nice, because the next time, Lehens can get the drop with a Justice Punch. Speaking of getting the drop,
it's also another time that Ghost has both his flash and teleports on the same cooldown. I swear he just is a little bit too aggressive with that button as, okay, Sword throws down the ultimate, but no one hits any buttons, and I think that Sword and Tarzan were on completely different pages.
Yeah, kind of hopeful start by Sword. He pops the ult, thinking that it'll be easy for Tarzan to go forward, and everything was correct except for the ult not being there to make it easy for Tarzan to make the play and get Summit away from the turret, and even then, Summit's flash up, so good read on the map. Sandbox knew they were top. The gank is a failed one. How about a bonanza of objectives? Except the Drake's going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that means that the Ripskull is going to get his health back as well, so a little bit unfortunate there, but OnFleek is on a champion that's pretty damn good at taking down a Ripskull. Spots to see whether there's no control wards, and there aren't any, so he's able to take his third Ripskull of the game. Sword playing aggressively here, but notably, it's not Summit playing the Aatrox, it's not Keen playing the Aatrox, it's a different kettle of fish. Is now
spotted.
Yeah, moves down towards the bottom side. Viper in trouble. Cocoon is going to find the Sona somehow out of nowhere. Ghost is going to get the cash in, and Sandbox strike first, and they strike hard.
And it's like a double kill because it's a 300 bounty already for the Draven, so a lot of gold coming in there, 1,700 casual
That's almost
lead.
double, Papa Smithy. That's in fact, yeah, very close. I think it's like 50 gold. And Ghost would have double that of what Viper has.
And even if you put the numbers together like you should do when it is a non-farming Sona, it is still a lot more gold on the side of Sandbox's duo lane than there is, and how about a turret plate to make it even more sweet?
Yep, that will be double the gold. Now going over to Ghost, and we know that he's very, very good at finding himself moments in the mid-game to utilize Draven's absolute power. I feel like there are certain people that are born Draven players. You may have seen them on Twitch before.
I do wish that I was VOD reviewing, and we get the replay. It's so important, is there just was nothing. There was no accountability when it's no flash on both Viper and Lehens. So honestly, yes, it would have been a little bit harder to kill the Galio, but it felt like the Cocoon, any Cocoon is golden. So
yeah.
Not able to tank with impunity like they were with the Yuumi in game number 2. And you couldn't ask for a better result. And now Ghost says, hey, let's keep laning. I'll buy an Executioner's Calling to dunk you even harder.
Yeah. BF Sword and Executioner's Calling coming in on the same back, Papa. That's beginning of the end for that lane.
Just Draven things.
Yeah.
Now, Draven has always had kind of a queried late gamers. Here we go.
Yeah, there's the kick flash, but the flash comes in just in the nick of time from Summit and denies the ability for Tarzan to put him in the bad spot.
Not able to pull that one off. Don't believe it was a true kick flash. It felt like a flash kick more so on that
Yeah,
one.
I think it might have been a little bit messed up because you do trap them in an animation. So generally, kick flash, the reason why it's so good is that you can't flash out of it. So the fact that Summit could flash means that wasn't a kick flash.
I definitely think that was a late kick. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Whirling Death comes in. That's named correctly, Papa. Sandbox are winning.
This is a Tom Clench lane every time
Oh,
Draven
God,
starts
yeah.
autoing people. It's it's not nice to see.
And Tom's even on the winning team, still clenching,
Yeah.
just because you're starting to feel guilty at that point. It's like,
It's a mirror neuron.
Am I allowed to do this?
It's a mirror neuron thing. You know, when you see
Yeah,
other people
yeah,
smiling
yeah.
and you can't help but smile?
Yeah.
Kench is going to clench in this case.
Oh, God. Oh, just stop. I think everyone's clenching.
Well, OnFleek's here as well, try to dunk harder on the Sona lane.
Yep, gets delivered a control ward. Is now Swords looking for Summit. Lots of damage
found him.
availability. Remember, there is no flash. Swords just got to get in there. Okay, the flash forward does find it. Did have to invest his flash to get there, though.
With the Summoner, it was always going to be a kill there, but Summit had some nice moves. He dodged the last Q there, so always
Yeah,
an
got him
outside
phase
chance.
rush as well. Almost got the right amount of distance.
But it still wasn't the Jaws. The impeding doom was always there. There wasn't
yeah.
much seeds of doubt. He knew it was coming, so you get the Summoner, so there will be a window perhaps you can return to. But at least a good news story for Griffin, who have a lot of headaches on the bot side.
We have to point out as well that Ghost is taking Klepto, so it's insult meeting injury here on the bottom side of the map, as Ghost is just happy to get all of his autos down on top of the members of Griffin here, and that taunt is actually exactly what Ghost wanted, because he got more auto attacks and more Klepto-procs.
And it's one of those blind situations where you just assume Kleptomancy. It's not Kleptomancy from Viper, but I think Ghost is still, the better for the ride.
Yeah.
In this particular case, another turret play. I'm loving seeing punishment onto a Sona lane. It's not quite Sonataric, but this is what we were not seeing in Game 1 that they got away with, that we are seeing in Game number 3.
And how cathartic is this for SKT fans and SKT in general, as we've got a fight on the top side of the map. Summit might just be dead. The Cocoon is good, and Summit has created enough distance. The turnaround is successful, but damn, it was close from Sword.
And Sona's had enough. She's done. She's backed up. She's going somewhere else.
It wants a trade-in on Summoner, I think. As Chovy dives in onto Dove. This is the 1v1 that you want. As Chovy is ignited, Dove now as well. Hexdrinker is activated. Chovy wanting to wait this one out. Does he land the Shuriken backflip? The answer is it doesn't even matter. But OnFleek finds the position. Tarzan's right there. And Griffin have the answers in the mid lane.
Kali flexing on the Jace, even through Hexdrinker. Min-maxing damage to pick up the kill. Pre-Gunblade solo kills are always a welcome sight for a team with Akali. Side lanes here are going to be oh so intriguing. Ryze versus Akali possibilities. Jace versus Akali looking really tricky earlier than expected.
Yeah, and it was Dove actually with a lot of control in that lane early, but now without any summoner spells and without any sort of advantage anymore, might mean that Griffin can take control of Shelly. Because Abyssal Voyage is going to come in, so that is going to mean that the money that Draven has provided will turn up in time. He's actually top side of the map at the moment, as we've switched things on their heads. No one wants to have anything to do with the Cloud Drake, and that is why Shelly is going to be the point of contention.
And we're already at a point, very early, 12 minutes in, where Jace really wants nothing to do with Akali, and Draven and the Tom Kench, Viper wants nothing to do with them. So both sides are trying to dodge things, and you can do that to a point, but also the reality hits you on the head from time to time. Lane assignments are flexible, but no team is winning enough to always get the matchup they want. So it just presents a very interesting duality with what to do as you're trying to look at gold numbers, aren't you?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Ghost has a really obscene number. Yeah. It's obscene.
I mean, he's got pretty obscene items as well.
Yeah.
He has all the healing, and he doesn't give anyone else any healing.
Yep. That's the I get, you not allowed to have. It's a very jealous Draven right there.
How about just dunking down a Rift Herald in the same lane as the Sona?
What about an even more gold Draven?
Yay! I like as
Lord.
much as cute cats.
Yep. That is, yeah, the winningest Draven in the universe. Didn't actually get any plates, so never mind. Oh, that's frustrating. That's like the ultimate missing a cannon.
It's also the one where you hit the perfect kick flash and then you can't get a plate, and it's like, come on, guys, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, Ghost is at least going to be able to get this one. There's a plate available, as Griffin are going to close on in.
Oh, we're going.
They feel like they need 5 people. The crescendo comes down. The Devour's there in time, though, as the teleport is going to follow up. Ghost at least is able to get some speed there. Flashes out of the way of Chovy, but they've got so many engaged choices. Viper locks down that kill, and now 5 members of Griffin are closing in on Sandbox. Infernal Chains not going to do it onto Summit, but they at least managed to kill Ghost.
And they make Ghost and Joker honest, and while it's only a single kill, disrupting the hell that Viper and Lehens is in has some intrinsic reward as well.
The shutdown for Viper is huge.
And it's because they made the right map read. Everyone could bail out and come top except for Dove. He had to come up the honest way, no teleport on this Jace. The all room top side, they interrupt what seemed like just another stacking of gold onto Ghost. Nice moment from Griffin, even if it doesn't arrest what is still around a 3,000 gold advantage for Sandbox.
Yeah, Ghost goes back, gets himself an extra pickaxe to augment this build. See what item choice it's going to be, most likely the Infinity Edge. As we have a look at this one once again, I was daring to believe as Joker got the Devour in, and it was a good flash from Ghost, but there were just too many different moves.
And with all their vision, no answer to Jace just having to slowly hike his way to the top lane. So nice play from Griffin, much smoother from Tarzan. That Lee Sin play. The items continue to roll in though, and it feels like oh so early. It's going to be Zonia's to complement the Gunblade that was done nice and early.
Yeah, and despite that play actually working out very, very well, you can see Sandbox 5 plates on the bottom side, 3 plates on the top side. They still have themselves a pretty great position as Viper. Oh man, he's very close to having that crescendo back available again, but the Sona has to be careful. She's in 3 auto attack territory from Ghost at the moment. So and even the W doesn't help.
So how does Sandbox win the game from here is a very pressing question. With their Ignite Jace, they have to group around the Jace, not teleport Jace to play side lane. And they have to just siege from all the threat that Jace and Draven autos does. And then try to catch people in transition. Something like the Elise Cocoon or the Rise can catch people on flanks that can make an honest man out of anyone. So because of that, I think that's the game plan Sandbox needs to follow. Because even with an Ignite advantage, no advantage over Chovy, both of them have Ignite. But even in this scenario, short of a Moore and a GA, you're not liking this 1v1.
Well, Chovy, very intelligent play on the bottom side of the map. Not going to push up, even though he saw that minions were being taken down on the turret. That is a big win, actually, for Griffin, as that whole minion wave went begging. Chovy now looking for on fleek as well. That is insult to injury, as he has to go into his stopwatch. Flash is available. He's going to use his repel to buy time. And the Abyssal Voyage will save the life of his jungler, but has it spared the blushes is the real question.
Enemy team uses resources, Griffin uses none, and gets top lane turrets. So I think overall, yes, blushes are baited, but they're still there. Under the surface, the makeup's not hiding those ones. Nice pushing in the bot side. Chovy finds one scenario where he doesn't have an all-in. With his ult on cooldown, Chovy cannot get a double kill out of nowhere.
Yeah, fair bit of damage available here against his turret. 2 ranged attackers, so the inner is going to go down. The defense is working on the top side as well, as Summit is up there, flash in hand. So he's not going to get ganked and killed. This is a good force from Sandbox on the bottom side.
So interesting. The game is very finely poised between the two. Ghost is strong, but Akali, Lee Sin, Aatrox is a trio that should be able to kill Draven, or at least zone him out of a fight, unless the Draven is comically far ahead, or someone face checks the point-and-click CC from Rise and at least follow up, and they get the first kill from there. So there's certainly potential here, and even if Draven's not the dive target, remember, Kali Lee Sin can just get Aatrox that reset, and there probably will be a lot of ability just to try to ignore Draven and continue to clean up from the first kill and that unkillable Aatrox on the back end. So Griffin do have some flexible options, and while Draven's strong, he's not ridiculously fed just yet.
I mean, he is still 3,000 gold ahead of Viper. Because he doesn't have his Klepto, so I guess he's not going to have as much money as Sona's going to at maybe the 20-minute mark for any other Sona that we've seen so far. So maybe that's not necessarily the right sounding board to try and work that one out. However, that is still a big number in anyone's book.
It means that some of those sticky situations Viper found themselves in, he'll have an extra summon to try to evacuate. But getting to the item total he found himself in harder, Viper might die to the ultimate here.
Yep, that's a willing death. If it lands, he's dead. As there is In fact, the execution is calling. Cocoon lands onto Lehens. Not going to be able to Justice Punch out of that one. Does go golden. They need to finish with this turret as Lehens is going to go down. But no more members of Griffin go in the process. The taunt was decent to stop any follow-up.
And grouping around the Jason, looking for more. Tarzan going to get his way out. Griffin trying to 1-3-1. It's 1-2-1 at the moment. It's 2 turrets in the mid lane and no sign of Sandbox stopping.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about non-committal CC being so powerful. You've got Rune Prison, Cocoon, all of these different buttons, and they're paying dividends now at close to 20 minutes into the game.
Griffin,
Inhibitor dead.
Griffin
no
have
options.
to fight. They have to find a team fight win here, otherwise they've been split to death.
Well, Tarzan still waiting for that resonating strike as they all converge. This is a huge pincer move, but Chovy a little bit too early. Sandbox staying grouped. On fleek, gonna go up into the air as they all dive back down again. Are we gonna have the option here as Heroic Entrance does come down? Ghost trying to get the 1v1 off onto Chovy. Will have to flash to get back over the wall. The auto attacks are there. Summit is in the fight, but Ghost is down. That is the main target they're looking for, and the Rise is going to die in the end. Joker evacuates with the Abyssal Voyage and will get out of this one. It's a lost fight for Sandbox, but have they done enough damage?
They've done so much damage given the timer, but actually the clock striking 20 almost just gave Griffin a free Baron after their first team fight victory. Griffin was split to hell, but Sandbox go into the tall grass as a group. They bring friends, like you should. Pokemon taught us this.
Yep.
They come in as a 5, and yes, eventually they're going to have to pay some inroads. Ghost has his overshield, but it is a free farm Chovy in order to clean up the kill. When Draven dies, it could be the worst case scenario, but Joker getting out and there being 3 alive, including the jungler, means there is no Baron to punish after all for Griffin.
It was really nicely done. Now Ghost does have his Infinity Edge completed, but no other crit items, so not exactly the highest value Infinity Edge at this stage. Still needs a little bit more before he gets there. You can see Null Magic Mantle. He wants to make sure that he stays alive against Chovy and also might be building towards that QSS, although might get a little bit more value out of something like a Hex Trinket this game, based on the fact that he wants to have that Lifeline passive as well as the Magic Shield. Wouldn't mind that one either. Not a lot to QSS, apart from the Crescendo.
QSSing the kick is a possibility.
That's true, so you can flash.
That's a very possible scenario, but I kind of take your point. A bit of magic resist right now is a good way to occupy an item slot, that's for sure. Probably didn't have gold for a stasis, so no stopwatch just yet. I think stopwatch is probably the way to go. Ghost pushes up. Magic resist interacting with the overshield. There's something not to be missed there, so we'll have more health to make magic resist a decent stat. We talked about grouping with the Jace. You can see how effective it is, even with the minion wave being cut by Chovy.
I think that's really interesting here is that now there's even extra pressure on Sandbox to play aggressively and play up in their lanes, because now there are super creeps parading towards the Griffin base, which is just free gold that they can pick up from safety every single time. They can stall if they want to, and Sandbox have to force to make sure that they can't.
You see pressure, I see incentive. Last half full says, let's round warp in and blow up the Baron.
Unfortunately, they did it right on top of a Griffin ward.
No,
yes, they're not going to know exactly where they were. However, that's a hell of a lot of damage. And I don't think Tarzan's going to get there in time. Whirling Death does a lot of work, in fact, on the back end as Tarzan looks for it. Doesn't quite find it, though, and he's going to go down solo. On fleet, grabs that one. Crescendo whiffs entirely as Chovy is at least creating some ruckus. Does land the Shuriken backflip, but now Lehens finds himself in the complete wrong place, and Griffin are in shambles. No Baron and no people on the map to defend. Chovy dies as well. We're very close to ace territory as it's just Viper and Sword to try and help this one. And there's no inhibitor in the mid lane.
No.
This could just be the game.
They're going to go for it, Atlas. They might be able to end it here. Griffin all over the shop, Sword trying to keep him alive.
Yeah, he does have a lot of AoE. Can he get that first kill to get the reset? The answer is no. Summit just murders him with that last overload. The fadeaway jump shot as Summit's now tanking up the turret. Doesn't fall down, which is important as Tarzan once again not going to find the hero play, and Summit have done it. Sorry, Sandbox have done it. That's a Freudian slip if ever I've heard one. Nexus goes down. Sandbox topple Griffin in a beautiful way.